Okay, perfect. So let's get started then. Okay, so first of all, again, thank you all for joining. We're very excited to have you all with us. We're going to talk about zTenant today, which is our tenant app. You can use zTenant. Well, before we dive into zTenant, actually, for those of you who are new, what is zInspector? We provide inspection software, so you can just it's for property managers, contractors, real estate agents. You can do your inspections with the zInspector app, and we have a lot of great features, of course. Like we have 360 images, excellent camera experience. You can just do any type of inspection with zInspector. But one of the great features, again, is that, and the one that we're going to focus on today, that is the zTenant app. And basically with the zTenant app, there are two things you can do. You can invite tenants to do inspections, and you can also customize the app. Before we actually go into that, let me introduce myself and Andy here with us. So my name is Athena. I'm doing the training and onboarding here at zInspector. We also have Andy with us, who's the CEO and founder.
Hey
Hi,
everyone,
Andy.
Happy New Year, and hope everything is going well for you. And as we've started this webinar series based on requests from a number of you. So we've got another one next week on kind of advanced template customization. And then kind of the plan is there'll be at least about one a month going forward. We're just going to kind of cover new topics. We're still going to have all the personal web conferences. So we have done thousands and thousands of web conferences. So if you want any individual web conference, you could still schedule that at any time. But this is just a different way. It's kind of, you can kind of join it with a little less pressure and kind of learn about a new topic. And would just really encourage you to post as many questions as you can. There's a Q&A there. Just keep asking questions. We will try and answer them kind of real time as you go. And we've got a little poll there as well. So click on that. It'll give us some insight and I think we some insight into how other users might be using some of these zTenant features. So welcome everyone, and we're going to keep going here.
Okay, perfect. So let's get started then. So what is zTenant? Let's talk about that for a second. So the zTenant app, it's a dedicated app for tenants. You can invite tenants to perform inspections, so they can use the app to do their own tenant completed move-in inspections, periodic inspections, annual inspections, any type of inspection. Basically, you can just invite your tenants to perform that. And with the zTenant app, you can also customize that, and you can build your own company app. You can add your links, add your logo, things like that. You can just build your own app. Both of those things, they work together. So it's just one app, and then depending on what it is that you want to do, you can invite tenants to perform inspections. And then the same app, once they submit the inspection, for example, the same app is going to transform, it's going to show your custom links, your own links and your app. But you can also, if they haven't downloaded your app, if you haven't invited them to perform an inspection, you can just have them download your app with all your links. And then if you do invite them, that same app is going to transform, it's going to show the tenants, the template. So if you invite them to do an inspection, that same app is just going to show that template, and it's going to allow them to perform an inspection. And then once that is done, it's going to turn back into it's going to show back all your links.
If I can just, add to that, Athena, is you want to really think of these things as two totally different features. So one of them is if you want to request a tenant to go essentially fill out your own custom template, that is its own thing, kind of tenant completed inspections. And then the other one here is making your own app with your own branding with one-click install on the website. And they really, some customers may use just one or the other. You don't have to use, just because you do one doesn't mean you have to use the other. But the idea that if you use both, the app will change to exactly what you want the tenant to do. So if you want them to have links to pay rent, it'll give them that. If you want them to fill out a renewal request at the time, then they're going to get that. And so that's the idea that we're trying to do. We're got two different really problems, but the same kind of tool set is going to use to solve them.
Okay, and if you have any questions, again, feel free to just send us a chat message, or in the Q&A, you can just ask any questions. So the first thing here, tenant inspections, tenant completed inspections. So you can just invite your tenants to perform any type of inspection, whether that is a move-in, a periodic, an annual, any type of inspection from the zInspector website. And then the tenants receive the invite. They just have two steps. They need to download the app and they log in basically, and then they do the inspection, they perform the inspection. And once that is done, first of all, we send them daily reminders, we take care of all of that. But once that is done and the tenants submit the inspection, you receive a copy in your email, and the tenants also receive a copy in their email. And that, of course, the inspection syncs back to the zInspector website, so that is available there too. Now, for the templates that we have, the default templates that we have for the tenant completed inspections, that is a move-in template. You can invite them to perform move-in inspections, but you can also invite them to perform periodic inspections, renewal, annual, and you can see all those different templates: filter, service, and sizing, and pre-move out. Those are the default ones. But you can also create any type of template, any custom template. You can just create a template on the zInspector website, and you can just invite your tenants to perform any inspection. Now, how you would invite the tenants, what are the steps? So basically, you would go to the tenants tab, to the tenants page on the zInspector website. You would search for the tenant or the property here, and you can see that screenshot with all the columns. And then after that, right on the right, you can see two columns. So this is very important. You have the tenant move-in column, which is where you would invite the tenants to perform a move-in inspection. You can just click on invite here, and that will send them that's going to open a dialog box, and you can just invite them to perform a move-in from this column. But if you want them to perform a renewal, an annual, a periodic, or any other type of inspection, that would be on the tenant inspection column. So you can just click on invite again there, and you can have them do any other type of inspection, basically. And then on the pop-up window here, you can see that you do have the remote signature feature here. Just to quickly cover that, this is if you did an inspection. It's not really tenant completed inspections, it's you do the inspection, and then you want the tenants to remotely sign it. So that's a different feature, it's a different thing, but I just wanted to cover that so that you understand that these are two separate things. So if you want them to perform the inspection, the tenants, you would just click on invite under the tenant app. So that would be done from their app. And on to the next slide here.
And Athena, if I could just add to that a little bit, if you can go back there for a second. Yeah. So there's just a couple things here to keep in mind. So all of this tenant data, if you're using RentTech Direct, Rent Manager, Appfolio, Propertyware, or Rentvine, we can sync all that data all automatically. So you're going to have all of that here automatically, or you can manually add it as you go if appropriate. And then the reason why we've got it really the two different columns, kind of tenant move-in, and because that's kind of its own thing for kind of documentation purposes. That's kind of the tenant move-in. And then the tenant inspection, over time, you may have many different inspections. And so in those columns you're always going to see the last status. So it can be submitted now, and you could click it again and then actually send them a new invite. And what's nice about that is over time, you're going to see all the inspection history associated that the tenant did, even if they did, 10 different inspections over the years. While they'll all be in timeline, they'll also be right there linked to that tenant as well. Okay. And so we do it here rather than trying to do it like within the zInspector app, because because someone just asked about that. This is a full kind of platform where you can manage and search. So even if you have thousands of tenants, you can see all that here, quickly see the status of all of them. So it just gives you a lot more tools to be doing it here on the website, and it's a lot faster to manage many invitations in bulk.
Right, and you can see here on the next slide, you can see all the statuses, as Andy mentioned. So if you just schedule the invite to be sent out on a future date, it's going to say scheduled. If it's expiring, probably we will cover the date. So you have actually, you can control the expiration date. You can control when it's going to disable. You can control all that. Moving on to the next slide, just to go over those different date fields. So basically, you can send the invitation right away. You just add today's date, and they're gonna receive it momentarily the moment you send it out. But you can also schedule the invitation to be sent out in a future date. This can be days ahead or even months, whatever it is. You can just schedule it. Then you can select when you want to start sending reminders. So by default, on the next day after the invitation is sent out, by default, that's when the first reminder is going to go. But you can just customize that date field here. And we're going to send them daily reminders until they submit it automatically. And then you also have the expiration email date. So basically what we do is we give them a first 5 days that they can start the inspection. By default, it's 5 days, but you can customize that. You can make it be as many days as you would like. But they have this first period to start the inspection. That's the expiration email date. So when that date comes, if they started it, they still have an additional 5 days grace period to actually finish the inspection and submit it. So that second period, that's the disable access date. We've seen that some tenants, maybe wait for the last moment to start the inspection. So that's why we have an additional grace period here. And of course, by default, you can set up a specific number of days for the actual invite here and the grace period. By default, it's 5 days, both 5 days to start the inspection and 5 days to get it submitted. But you can change that, and you can also change it for each individual invite. So for each tenant, if you know that this tenant maybe they're not going to move in until a few weeks later, you can just schedule it right now, but you want to start sending reminders in 2 weeks, and then you can just adjust all these dates for this specific invite. Okay. Let's see. Mm-hmm.
We just got a couple questions for Claire. You said your properties are synced from Appfolio, but not your tenants. And so that's actually 2 different steps. So you got the property file and the tenant file. And so those both need to come from Appfolio. If you just email support@zInspector, they'll just respond back with the instructions on how to do that or how to create a temporary user for us at zInspector, and we'll set it up for you. Okay. Hussein, you asked about could tenants dispute any damages after they sign the move-in? So I think there's different ways for me to interpret that question, but so I'm not sure if you just mean that they want to dispute the inspection. They're going to get a PDF of the report, so they have that. If they're trying to make changes to an inspection or something like that, I believe if that's what you're asking, then that was where you'd use most likely our remote signature feature. And there's an option where you can have an entire inspection report and you can allow the tenants to add comments to that report. So if that is, if that's not your question here, Hussein, saying if I didn't answer it, ask something again. And then Billy asked if you can get a presentation. We'll send out links to the slides that you can get it as well. And both the recording and the slide links. We'll make sure those are both there. Charmaine asked, you got audio problems. You might need to hover over the Zoom window. It kind of might hide a little bit. Mine's on the bottom. It could be on the top. I think mine's on the bottom. If you kind of hover over the bottom of the screen, you'll see all the Zoom links pop up. You should see one for the microphone and to join audio. And there should be a little arrow there where you can test your audio connection. So hopefully you can find that there. Athena, can you go back up one slide?
Mhm.
would you mind? Because I just want to mention a couple of things. And yeah, one more back from here in that on this tenant page, there's some other things about this page that are kind of unique. And so these columns are all searchable. So you could do things like search by the lease end date column, for example. And then you can use the little check mark. If you can highlight where the little check box is in the upper left-hand corner, okay, and of the right there, and that's where you could actually select all and then data and do bulk invites. Not all plans have that feature, but that is there. And so you can then like automatically send out a whole bunch of renewal inspections in bulk. So that's very easy to do as well. And then another one, this is a newer feature. We're not quite ready to launch it live. Even though it's technically there, we have to enable it. And that is to automatically send move-in requests. And so that's going to be coming here very shortly as well. So when we will detect a new lease in your accounting software, when it syncs over, we'll just automatically send in the move-in request. So that is something that's been asked for that will also be coming here very shortly in just the next few weeks.
Okay, perfect. And Hussein asked if we can, if for the remote signature, that's a different feature, but if the tenants can add comments or photos to the inspection you did. So if you invite the tenants to perform, to sign an inspection that you did, if you perform the inspection and you just want them to sign it, you can enable comments, general comments, for them to add more comments. You can allow them to upload more pictures to your report. You can also allow them to add a line-by-line comment to the condition table. Or, those are three different things. So you can just enable, disable each, and then just have them sign. So if you want, you can just allow them to do all that, or you can just have them sign it. Those are all different options that you have.
We got some more questions here from Kim. She says, I use Buildium, and unfortunately, we don't sync with Buildium. While we're not opposed to doing it, the reality is our default import templates used to be the exact Buildium format. They have broken their report formats multiple times, and then their API is just very expensive. So unfortunately for Buildium users, I don't think we have a sync with them, but it's really fast to manually add that data. And one thing I've noticed with Buildium users, they end up typing their data in other systems anyways, or other spreadsheets. So if you type it into zInspector, we have a really nice Google Drive feature. So it'll actually sync all your tenant data and property data into a Google Drive spreadsheet. So if you're doing something like that, typing in there, you might as well type it in zInspector, and then you'll at least kind of save that step or at the same time. Amir asked the question here is if you've completed an inspection and asked tenants to remotely sign, but they refuse to sign, how would you resolve that? And that type of question is really getting in the realm of legal. How do you handle that type of legal situation? So it's hard for us to say that. And it's probably answer that. It's probably dependent more on your state or country rules as well. So you need to be aware of that. But from my experience as a broker in California, so that's my limited experience, when you've had certain situations like that, it's more about just disclosure. And so you send them a report and saying, if you didn't send it, well, here's at least a copy. And that has the GPS links and timestamps and all that, and you've got an email. And then you would have to check with your legal advisors to see if that type of disclosure type requirement can work for you. Okay. Greg asks, is it possible to send inspections to prospects before they become tenants? So to review their current living conditions. I think that's kind of interesting. I don't we haven't really explored that, but there's no reason why you can't. So you can send them any request that you want. If you did that, I would recommend making like a really simple tenant, a template, kind of maybe something like our model it after like the tenant periodic, where it just kind of prompts them to take pictures of around their current home or something like that. So I think contact us. We could help you create a little template to do something like that. But if you're syncing your data from other software, as soon as that data is in there, it can sync up. So yeah, you could send the invitation to future tenants as well as current ones. Okay. So Ranika asked if we have a townhome community where the layout is exactly the same in each unit. On the website under properties, the admin page. So there you can do what's called bulk area description. So if you want to like select 100 properties or all of your properties and label all of the bedroom ones left, you can do that in bulk right there. It's very easy to do. So you just go on the website under properties, admin property page. That's when you do it, where you do that. Most people are managing single families, and they're going to kind of customize the property layout as they go. So layer, like you might label the bedrooms and bathrooms when you're first doing a move out. And then you'll send them to the tenant and they'll already be laid out for the property. But that's how, Ramika, if all of your properties or your units are basically the same, that's how you would do that. So Nora asks, when doing a bulk invite, does the inspection link go to all tenants? Right now, it's just going to one tenant, and it's going to the first one on your list. And Nora, if I recall right, you use Appfolio, and we will soon be syncing from Appfolio. We do it from Rent Manager and PropertyWare and others. If you have a primary tenant designation, and so that'll be sending it to the primary tenant as opposed to just the first one in the list. So the bulk invite, the tenant, and that's a good thing on tenant inspections. We really recommend you send it to just a single tenant. The remote signature feature supports multiple tenants where they're all kind of signing the report. But when you're inviting tenants to do an inspection, we recommend you send the invitation to just a single. Okay. All right. So Greg asked another question here. Can we create custom reports? So I would like to change image size and use images that have drawings, arrows with comments for work orders. So that's all certain possible. So you could create any template you want. And when you talk about drawing and on pictures, you can do that on the zInspector app. And so in the upper right-hand corner, you hit the little gallery button and you can draw on any picture, and that'll show up. And then on the work orders, that'll just be accessible as a picture. If I didn't answer that question exactly, would recommend you email support@zInspector, because that's kind of a unique one. Lawrence asks, can I automate monthly air filter inspections? And we haven't done that yet, and we're not opposed to doing it. We are first going to roll out the automated tenant move-in feature and really see how that works, because I think that is the most applicable to everyone right away. Now, that said, it's really easy to select all of your tenants in bulk and send them all a request. So once a month in 30 seconds, you could send all of them a bulk request. And I think that for right now is still better. And the reason is because you still need to have some type of review process, right? So like maybe some percentage of your tenants that didn't fill it out, you want to go send them a special reminder. or something like that, or send them a follow-up, or send them a notice to correct, or something like that. So we think the once a month bulk activity still has its own merits, where if you just set it all automatically, and you wouldn't have any type of review process, I'm not sure if that's necessarily going to help you. Okay. So Lawrence asked another question: how to deal with a tenant who is not renewing. So you delete tenant after move out or archive. Yeah, so what you're going to do, and if you're synced with other software, then we're going to automatically change their lease, we call their lease status, to SD return, for security deposit return. So that's kind of the idea, that that's the complete inactive. And so they're going to automatically go onto the inactive page. If you're manually managing your tenants, on the screen there, you would just hit the little icon to edit, and that'll edit it. You would change the lease status to SD returned, and then that lease associated with that tenant would move to inactive, and then all of their old history is still there, and then you have your new tenants on the active and the old tenants in inactive. And Renika, you asked, you have single family as well as a townhome. Yeah, and so that's important, because then on that admin tool that I mentioned, you could use the address search feature, and then you can just pick your townhome units and just change the area descriptions in bulk for just those units. Very, very easy to do. Just try that there. If you've got any problems with that, just let us know. But it's very easy to do. Okay. And Shelby, yes, we will be sending out a copy of the recording. And also under past webinars, all old webinars will be there. But if you're registered, you're going to get that as well. Okay. So Jordan asks, is there a way to have tenant groups to send out inspections, such as for air filter service? They have some commercial and storage units. And I think that is a very good question. It actually came up last time under zData. And so right now, you can send out tenant inspection requests easily in bulk by looking at things like lease start date, last inspection date, lease end date, things of that nature. We are going to be adding the inspection requests on other screens. So last inspection history, or based on missing data in the system. So once we have those other features, we would be able to, I think, solve what you're asking there, Jordan. Right now, all the bulk invitation tools are based more on the tenant history, the tenant dates, as well as their inspection history. Jason asks, we would like to virtually walk the tenant through the inspection while on the phone or screen share. And, you know, we do know some people doing that. And it's not really my personal preference. That said, there are a number of people who like it. And so then how I would recommend you do that, if you really wanted to do that. So some people want to actually have the tenant fill out the app, but then the property manager might even be on the phone with them or something like that. Now, if you're going to do that, when you send the invitation, how I would recommend you do it is just to uncheck the option for sending daily reminders. And so then you basically, the process will work like normal. You'll invite them, you'll send the invite, and then you can just be on the phone with them and do it like normal there as well. And then you can be on the phone with them now. And as they start taking photos, they'll streamline under timeline, and you'll start seeing them. And this is, it relates to another feature that's going to go across the board. And that is, you'll soon start seeing in progress inspection backups on timeline. And so that is going to be applicable to not only your property managers, but your tenants. So you're going to be able to see stuff on timeline as they fill it out. Right now, you can just see their photos, but you'll, in the next few weeks, you'll soon be able to see what they're actually filling out, kind of backed up online. So Jason, that might help you there as well. But basically, that's what I would do is if you want to talk them through, send the invitation and don't use the daily reminders feature and talk them through. That said, my personal preference is to make it more time shifted. So let tenants do it on their schedule and you do the invitations on yours. But that's not how all PMs want to do it. Okay. So Emily asked, I'm super new, but where do I go to see what the tenant sees? So what we recommend you do, and we have a video just on that, is to actually, on this tenant page, create yourself a test property, yourself as a test tenant using a kind of an email address, like a personal email address, and send yourself an invitation. And no matter who you are, you really should do that. Is that it's good to kind of really see what the tenant does, because then it's going to make sure, do you like the welcome emails? Do you like this? Do you like where your company identification subject is? So that's always a good idea to set up, create a test property, create a test tenant, send yourself an invitation, Emily. So that's what we'd recommend. Okay, so Kevin asked about zData, and we can pull data from PropertyWare. We're not, the zData feature, like appliance serial numbers and filter sizes, that can sync to like a Google Drive spreadsheet and be up all on the zInspector website. And so all that data will be there, but we can, we're not syncing it back into PropertyWare yet. Okay, so we're working on two-way sync, but it's not there. Okay. All right, let's keep going on. I know we'll come back to some more questions here. Okay, keep going, Athena. Yeah, okay, I know that was a bunch of them, lots of them.
Yeah, those were all good questions. So let's see. Let's move on to the next slide here. And let's see. Now we're gonna go into how you would build your custom app, your branded company app. So if you do have any questions on the tenant inspections, feel free to still send us a chat message. But regarding the custom app, your own branded app, basically you would build your app on the zInspector website. You can add your logo. You can just select a color palette that complements your logo, matches your brand colors, and then you can also add your own links, specific links. This can be pretty much anything. So you can add links like have the tenants pay rent, view your listings, submit maintenance requests, contact you, call you, email you. And those are your existing links, like the existing services that you offer with the existing, like if you're using PropertyWare or AppFolio or any other accounting system software, you can just add those links, but then it's still your own app. And we're going to cover that in the next slide, how that works exactly. But once you have the app ready, the idea is that you can just embed the download link into your website. So the tenants can actually go to your website and they can download your app directly from your website. And then they can use your app, and it also works with the tenant completed inspections, as we already mentioned. Now, going further into how you would create the app and how it works. We have a little slide here with all the examples that you can add, like all the different links that you can add. And it's very important to understand that these are your existing links, your existing services. So if you have your tenants pay rent through Appfolio, you will just add that link here, but it's going to work within the zTenant app. So they're going to tap on pay rent, and it's going to open that same page that they use, the Appfolio page, but they're going to be able to log into their tenant portal and pay rent and do all that within the app. Let's see how you would create the app, basically. And let's see if you have any questions regarding the custom app or anything else. Feel free to send us a chat here or in the Q&A. Now, for actually building the app, we have all the steps here, but I think it's actually best if I share the zInspector website screen where you can actually see how we add links. So let me share that screen here. Okay, so you should be seeing our zInspector website, the screen for the app builder. So basically how I got here, settings, you're going to click on settings, you're going to go to admin settings, and let's go through that. And then you're going to scroll all the way down here to zTenant app builder. So you're going to click here. We have some links already here. We have added those, but you can basically add any link. So the first thing you would need to do is you would need to add you would customize your URL link, the download link. So this is right here. This is just a demo account, but basically you just enter your, that should be very short. That's just the download link. And it's basically the extension for this link here. So app, you would just add your company name. And then under that, that's your full company name. This is what the app is going to show. So you can see that preview here on the right. So you can see Great PM. So if we go ahead and just add in a title here, the company name, you can see how that's going to update here, right? Live preview on the app, on the zTenant app. Now you would add your links. First of all, you will make sure you have uploaded your logo. If you've uploaded it already for your inspections, it should show up here automatically. If you haven't, you can just click on customize logo and upload your logo. And then after that, you can just add your links. Now there are different things you can do here. So basically, I'm going to just do an example. So let's say we want to add a maintenance request link. We're going to click on add new on this button here. First of all, we're going to double click or one click on the icon here, and we're going to select an appropriate one. So let's say for the maintenance request, that would probably be this little icon here with a tool. And then on the text, you can just click on that and you can say maintenance request or whatever it is, what you wanted to read. And then over here, and you can see live how it's changing on the app. So over here for the color, you can just click and you can select whether that's a primary button or just a lighter color. And we can customize the colors too. These are just the two options for each palette. But let's say over here, the next one we have is the action. So this is important. If you want your tenants, like if you want to add a call us button, an email us, SMS, you would just select the appropriate, let's see, if we just click here, you're going to select the appropriate action. So phone, email, SMS. How this works is that if they tap on call us, it's just going to open their phone application. It's going to pre-populate your phone number and they can just call you. Same thing for email. If you just select email, it's going to launch their email application and you can just have your email address pre-populated for them to email you. But if it's an existing link that you have, like from Propertyware, Appfolio, Rent Manager, whatever it is that you're using, or even your own website, you will just select either web view or browser. We would recommend always select web view, but you would need to test that out, see how it looks. But basically with web view, the link, the page will open within the zTenant app. So they have one experience within the app. If you select browser, then they're going to leave the app and it's going to open the window in their browser. So that's those are the two options for your links. But we always recommend web view. And now over here, let's see this column for the link. So basically here, depending on the action that you selected, if you selected phone or SMS, you would just add your phone number. If you selected email, you're going to add your email address here. But if it's a link, like web view or browser, you would just paste that link here to the page. Like if it's for the maintenance request, you can just go here and paste the link to Appfolio or wherever that is. You just paste that link here. And how this works is that they just tap here on maintenance requests, and that opens their tenant portal basically, so they can log in through your app still. They can log into their tenant portal and they can submit maintenance requests if you want to do it like that. It can also be any public link like your listings page. That would be your own website. So you just paste that link from your website. So it supports different sources, different websites all together in just one place.
So a couple things on that is that if you're going to paste in the link, I recommend you just kind of paste the entire link from the browser. So like view it on your website, copy it, then paste it here. And then that'll add in the HTTPS : / that whole link there as well. Okay. You can use this feature for different things. So, depending, like you may have them, let's say, pay rent through Appfolio, but you may have them do a maintenance request through Meld, and you might have some other web form for collecting other pieces of information. So you can have these different sources from whatever different things they are, and it's all going to be there here in one experience, and it's all going to be there, all those links, even though those links are actually coming from different places.
Okay. Okay, well, and the last thing that you can add here is over here, this last column. This is actually a new update. This is more advanced, so we'll cover that in a little bit further, but basically you can select the audience for these different buttons, for these different links. So maybe you want some links to be available for the public, for everybody to see. If they download your app from your website, they can see all these links that you have available for public. You can set up specific links to only show for tenants. So this works if you already invited them to perform an inspection and they're your tenant. They can only see those links, like for example, pay rent or maintenance request. And you can also work with different portfolios. If you manage units in different, if you have different offices, for example, different regions, you may have specific links for each region, for each office. But we're going to go into that. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's come back to that feature there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you're done with the app, you have it ready. You go here at the very bottom, at the very end here, you can enter a custom home message for the home page. So this can be really anything. You can just type it in, whatever it is, like office hours. Thank you for using our app, whatever it is. You can just add that here. Now for the color palette. So over here, when you see the preview, you can go here at the upper right. There's a little icon here, so with the palette. So you can just click that, and you can select all these different options. There's a lot. Depending on your logo, you can just select any one of these, and you will see the live preview here of all the different colors. And it really depends on your website colors, your logo colors. There are a lot of options. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's very easy to do. You just add your links, you customize the colors, you add your company name, and that's it. And then the last thing you need to do once the app is ready, you will definitely need to enable company homepage. So this is what actually enables your custom app. If this is unchecked, they're not going to see your links. They're not going to see anything. Well, they can do the inspections. You will invite them to do inspections. That's good. That's a separate feature. But then after that, they'll just see a thank you screen, a default screen. They're not going to see your custom links. So if you want to enable the custom app, you will need to click here and check this enable company homepage option. And let's see, let's go back to the presentation. And let's see if we have any. Well, let's go to the next screen here. Those are the different color options, like some of them. But basically the result, once you have your app, is that once you add all your links, is that you have your own app. It's branded with your logo, your links, your colors, and they can download it. It's an actual app. It's not a web form or anything like that. It's an actual app that they download from the App Store, the iOS App Store, the Apple App Store, or Google Play Store. So they can download your app from, it's an actual app. They download it from either one. So let's go to the next slide here. And and how would they download it? We have a little example here. So let's say this is your website or another website, but let's say you have your website. You would just create a link here in the menu, and you would embed the download link here, like we have in this example. So your tenants, or even not your tenants, maybe somebody is interested in your listings, and they can go to your website, they can click on mobile or whatever link it is, download our app. You can make it be anything. You can make it be a button right here in the very center of the screen. But basically they click on that, and the screen that they're going to see is this screen here. It's going to show your logo, your company name, and they have the options to download whether on Android or iOS. Fun fact, if they're using any of these, they're only going to see that link. So if they're using Android, they're only going to see the Android link. If they're using iOS devices, they're only going to see that link. Yeah, but then that's it. And they open the app and they have all your links there. But that's just if you want them to directly download it from your website. If you already invited them or will invite them to perform an inspection, once they perform the inspection and they submit it, they're automatically going to see your custom links, the ones that we just added. So in that case, they don't need to do anything else. They're just going to perform the inspection, complete it, submit it, and automatically they're going to see all your custom links, your custom app. And for the next slide here, so this is what we mentioned earlier. And I think, Andy, if you just want to go over that again, how you can select the audience for your different buttons here, for your different links.
Yeah, and if you could enable screen sharing to me also, if possible. But so this is a brand new feature. We actually launched this yesterday. And if you've already used the zTenant app in the past, all of your, where it says user groups there, are just going to say public/tenant. And that basically means that the links are available to everybody. That's basically all that it means. And so, but we had some requests that people kind of want to change things up a little bit. And so, for example, maybe you would want just your link to pay rent available to tenants, right? So people who are actual tenants. And basically then is what we would do is make sure that link just says tenants there. And what'll happen then is that only if that tenant actually got an invitation email and they had clicked it, will they see that link there. And so you can actually control it, whether it's anyone in the public or if they they're specific tenants. You can kind of control which links they're going to see. And then you can go up here and test it and say public, and trying to ignore everything else in the list. I'll cover it in a second. But just the top two are public or tenant, and you can preview what that individual would see. So as Athena showed you, if you added the link to your website here and anyone clicked it, anyone would see these links, but only if they actually received an invitation and clicked it, would they also see the tenant links. So you could like really customize this to do different things depending on your application and really depending on what you're trying to do. But like, for example, maybe under the public page, you want a link for to go to a email your biz dev person, but if they're a tenant, you want to pull up a property meld maintenance request link or whatever that is, right? You can really customize it down at that level, and it's very easy to click it and try it and preview different things. Now, the other feature here, this is not for everyone. This is going to be more for larger organizations, but we do have a feature called user groups. And
Hey, Andy.
Go ahead.
Oh, hi. I can hear you now.
Okay, not sure how much you lost me there, but the user group feature in the past has been more for you to control which property managers see which particular properties and inspection history. But you can, if you're using that feature, you can also say if the tenant is in that particular user group, they'd only see their links. And this came about for like someone, maybe they had tenants in one particular region. They would want them to see a different maintenance request link than someone, let's say, in another state. So it's definitely a more advanced feature called user groups. It's not for everybody, but if you need to do that, control which people see which links, this is all here now supported. It's very new. So let us know how you might need that and how that can help you, okay? If you want to take control back, Athena, go ahead, all right?
Yes, okay, perfect. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for all the slides. I know we have a lot of questions here in the Q&A. And somebody already asked if they can add the link, the download link to their email signature. Basically, you can add the download link for the zTenant app anywhere to your signature. Any email you send out, anything, anywhere it's public, you just copy it and you paste it wherever you want, and anybody can access it. And Andy's sharing the screen. So do you see where it says public link? You can just copy that. You click on the green copy link button and you paste it wherever you want in your emails and embed it to your website. You can do with it pretty much anything. You can even send a mass email to all your tenants and say, we launched a new app. I know some of our customers are doing that.
Okay, so we basically have, I think we've covered the core things about zTenant. So really you can use it to send inspection requests, have the tenants fill out any template you want. You've got a full website where you can manage thousands of invitations. You've got this other feature really here where you can make your own app to have your own links, and then you can quickly change it here at any time. It's going to sync. Okay. And then we have both of these features here coming together. So really encourage you to give this a try. It's very easy to do it. And we're going to be sending out this webinar, so you'll get that. We've also got another webinar next week on a tenant customization, or sorry, template customization. And so feel free to sign up for that one, as many other ones as you want. If you want to dive into anything specific here, then please schedule your own web conference and we'll spend with you personally all the time you need as well. But I think we basically concluded this webinar, but we're going to just keep spending time here and just keep answering questions. So we're going to just kind of keep going through that, and we're going to try and answer here every question that we can find. Okay, so I think that kind of wraps up the webinar, but let's just kind of keep answering questions. Unless Athena, you have anything to wrap up first. I think we can just keep answering questions.
Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything. We do have some questions here, so we can just go over that.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see here. So Emily asks, is there a way to link to the RentTech Direct app? That is one thing. We can't link to technically another app. We can link to another website. And so most likely they would have a web link and for them to download that app. So if you find that web link, you would add that link. They technically would go to a web browser and then they would go to the app store and open up the app. There's just security rules on apps, so we can't just kind of really easily open up another app. But you can go to the web browser and back. That's how you would do that. Should be pretty easy to do. Let us know if that doesn't work for you. Okay. Let's see. So Christina asks, is there a way that the tenant is able to see their lease if it was created outside of zInspector as a download? So right now we're not, and I think what you're asking here is, can we share documents to a tenant? I think that's what you're really, the general question. Right now, we don't have a feature for that. They can basically, if you ask them to fill out something, they will get a copy of anything that you have asked them to fill out. Now, we are looking at trying to expand that and basically provide them a full dashboard where you can kind of control what they have access to. So I think your idea is a good one, but that is, we don't do that kind of directly. Right now, they just get copies of any documents you want them to fill out. Let's see, Gwen asks here, under the maintenance requests, can both the tenant and repair person see the requests? So there are different things here. So zInspector does have a task manager, which it is there's really sophisticated. There's a lot of options to it. And there are then options for you to do things like that. Or if you already have your other maintenance request system, you could basically just add a link to that. So the zTenant feature is really designed to be generic, where you can just add in any type of link. And then depending on how that link is there, then that's what they're going to see. So now, again, we will be adding more to our maintenance task manager to make it easier to just kind of one-click enable that. And that'll be coming in the couple months. But however you have that set up, whatever service you're using for maintenance requests, that's what we can link to. Okay. Nora asks, if we add a link to a work order request on the app, can tenants add photos, comments from the inspection they completed? And so I'm not, it's kind of two different topics there, so I'm not exactly sure on that, but the kind of the main options that we have, if you're inviting tenants to do an inspection, then you can enable it or not what's called action items. By default, for let's say your tenant move-ins, action items are enabled. And if the tenant sets those, then that will create a work order or task in our system. So if that is not what you're asking, maybe elaborate on that question, but that's kind of how I'm inferring it. Okay. Miranda asks, if you have multiple users, can you customize the email address per property, or is it one email address per the app? And so I think that is kind of a good question. And so it's really, we don't probably solve it exactly how you're asking for it, but under settings, admin settings, you have under tenant settings here, we have these different options. Now let's go to tenant move-in. Okay, you can control here the reply address. So on the invitations, when the tenants, if the tenants reply to the invitation, say something like, hey, I'm not going to be moving in for another month, or whatever that is. Right now, you can only have a single reply address per company. And so when you send the invitations out, it's just one reply address per company. Now, however, and
Hey, hi, Andy. Can you still hear us?
yeah, it looks like my internet cut out there for a second. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I showed you there. Hopefully you saw that under under the reply invitations, you can control that email address. You can control the report routing here. So there are advanced rules. So you can control how the reports are routed. So you could have all tenant move-ins go to a certain person. You could have all tenant renewals go to a certain person. You could have all of the reports for a certain user group go to a certain set of people. So this is here where you would control how the reports are routed. If you have any advanced rules like that, you can feel free to try it. Or if you email support@zInspector, we can help you implement them very, very quickly. Okay. All right, so let's see here.
Let's see.
So I'm trying to digest all the questions. Yeah, there's a lot there. So Ash asks, we have a separate CRM software where each tenant has a unique email address. I don't think that's what we would do. There are various issues with that. But if you used our Google Drive sheet where we sync all the data there, the inspection history will show up there, and you could use Zapier to trigger the email. And so we know people are doing things like that. And so you could actually detect a new inspection and send it out into a very specific way. So maybe something like that would work for you. That's a kind of a very unique use case, but we do have that Google Drive sheet available where you can try that. Okay. All right. So Greg asks here again, if a prospect gets approved and becomes a tenant, the app will change the available options. So we keep maintenance off until they become a tenant, then it would add the maintenance button. Yeah, if you set it up that way, that is how it would work. So let's say you had a public link for everybody and anyone who downloaded your app to maybe find a rental, apply now. Once they maybe, let's say, get the tenant move-in request, now that's going to verify them as a tenant, and they're going to start seeing tenant-specific apps. Okay. Ashley asked to get rid of the manual login button. That is on the list to kind of make it like at least really, really small in the lower corner. I'm sorry that that's not done already. Okay. Jamie asked about pricing. If you go to the billing page, you'll see the pricing. And on our billing page now, be sure there are both user and unit plans. And so that's just under settings and billing, click per user per unit, go back and forth. and pick the plan that is the most appropriate plan for your company. And it's not, you don't pay for both, you just pick whatever is optimal. Okay. Ashley also asked here, does zInspector have anything work for a video call feature, like two-way video call? Not specifically. I mean, you could add in a link to any type of service you want, even maybe like a chat service or something like that. Most of our work is going into what I would call as time shifting, where you might have a remote team member sending requests out in the middle of the night or reviewing requests or whatever that may be, and the tenants do it on their own schedule. So that is, how most of our work is done right now. That said, we are adding other things. So we'll be adding things like, texting and other ways to kind of more real-time communicate. I'm not sure if a two-way video call is really the right one, but we'll take that suggestion under advisement and see what else we can do there. So Amir asks, can you electronically collect rent from the tenants using zInspector? So zInspector, we don't do rent collection. So our focus is basically anything field management, however you're trying to get data in the field, and that's really where our focus is. And then we're going to connect with other services. So whatever other software you use, like if you are a bigger company, you'd be using something like Appfolio, Rent Manager, Propertyware, Rentvine, something like that. And we have, if you're a smaller customer, and even a lot of larger customers, you might want to look at Rent Direct. I think they have a lot for their pricing. We have a really nice two-way sync with them. So if you're looking for a way to collect rent, you've never done that before, that's a great one to check out. And also on our pricing page, we have links to who we are syncing with, so you can check those different companies. Okay. All right. Let's see if there's any other kind of questions coming up. I'm going to just scroll here, make sure we didn't miss anything. Please ask away. You will be getting this webinar in your email, and but we will stay on here as long as questions are coming in. We will keep answering them. Okay. Athena, let me know if you see any other questions.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much answered these ones that we have now. If you did ask a question and we didn't answer it, just feel free to resend it. Maybe it got lost in all the different questions here, because we are getting questions from the chat and the Q&A. So maybe from the chat, we perhaps missed one. Just, you can also send in the Q&A.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, be sure to fill out that poll. Love to get your feedback on there, and we will be kind of giving an assessment of that out, and just kind of interested to see how people are going to use this feature. If you've got other ideas, please send them to us. We are continually developing this, and basically everything that we're doing now is based on customer requests. So if there's something that you need, some idea that you have, please let us know, and we would love to implement it. So
and if you have any requests for webinars, maybe we can also do that. If you want us to schedule or organize a specific webinar on a specific subject, feel free to just send us a chat message. We will have another webinar next week on Wednesday, where we're going to discuss template customization. So that's a good one to attend. It's going to be the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Kevin. And we're still here if you have any further questions.
I think we are pretty much wrapped up here. We'll keep this live here a little longer. So if there's any kind of last minute questions you didn't want to ask them in bulk, then feel free to do that. But we really appreciate you all joining us. And we'll have here another one next week, really kind of diving into templates, and at least one a month where we kind of go into some of the more advanced features and dive into them and let people ask questions in bulk. And so, love all the feedback, love having you all together. And I think you're seeing this kind of poll pop up here as well. You can start to see some of that, kind of a great little spread of things already. So we're going to take some time to review all that. But let us know how we can help, okay? Chris asked, we'll get an email to sign up for the email next week. Yeah, we will be sending out emails on just kind of webinars, but also we've tried to put all the webinars on one page. So right here on this link, I'm going to send it here to everyone, Chris, that if you click on that link, that is where you'll be able to sign up for the new webinars. So the new webinars will be at the top. And then at the bottom of that is past webinars, and just click on that to see recordings. And so, and even if you're just interested in a topic and you just want to sign up for the webinar, don't worry about it. So, and if you can't make it, you can sign up for it, and then I'll make sure you're on the list to get the recording and things like that as well. Okay, Chris, hopefully that's helpful. Thank you, Sage. Appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole. Okay, I guess we'll talk next week then.
Thank you, Athena.
Thank you all for coming.
Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you,
Take care.
Andy. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.